Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about Nairobi, but maybe not in the way you're thinking. See, there are two huge, totally different migration trends hitting this one city at the same time. On one side, it's about a personal search for home. On the other, it's all about global strategy. And right where those two forces meet, well, that's where a city is being completely transformed.
So what exactly is driving this new migration to Kenya? Let's get into it, because the answer is, well, it's a tale of two very different worlds colliding. You've got individuals, right? They're looking for a deeper connection, a better quality of life. But then, on the flip side, you have one of the biggest organizations on the planet making this really calculated strategic move. It's fascinating.
All right, first up, let's talk about the personal side of things. There's this trend happening that people are calling a reverse migration. And really, it's about a bunch of deeply individual choices that are all adding up to create this big collective wave of change.
Take Kenneth Harris. He's a retired U.S. vet, and after his career, he didn't just go on vacation to Kenya, he moved there, started a whole Airbnb business. And he's just one person in this growing wave of African Americans who are deciding to build their lives in Kenya. They're looking for something much more than just a change of scenery.
You know, for a lot of people doing this, it's not just about packing bags. It's way deeper. They talk about this profound search for what they call mental liberation, a feeling of belonging that they just weren't finding somewhere else. This idea of reconnecting with your heritage, it's a huge pull, drawing people in from all over the Western world.
So what you end up with is this really powerful mix of reasons why. Yeah, of course you've got the practical stuff, like great weather and a chance to start a business. But that's all mixed in with something much more profound, right? That search for community, for acceptance, and the chance to build something new with this incredible entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay, let's switch gears completely. Because while all these individuals are finding a personal home in Kenya, one of the world's biggest institutions is making a very strategic one. And this move, it has zero to do with feelings and everything to do with cold, hard global logistics.
And look at this number, 2,000. That's how many UN employees are scheduled to move to Nairobi. We're talking about a huge chunk of staff from major agencies. Think UNICEF, UN Women, getting up and leaving places like New York and Geneva for East Africa. I mean, that's a massive, massive logistical and strategic shift.
And let's be clear, this isn't some random pin on a map. No, it's a totally calculated move. The UN's trying to do a few things here. Cut costs, get their teams on the ground working better together, and really shift its whole center of gravity closer to the people it actually serves. Plus, Nairobi already has over 20 UN agencies there, so it's the perfect place to build on.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This is where our two stories crash into each other. You have the individual's search for home and the massive institution's strategic move, and they're both landing on the streets of Nairobi. And together, they are literally physically reshaping the city.
So you have these two powerful forces pushing on the city at the same time. Think of it like this. You've got this bottom-up energy, right? That's the individual entrepreneurs, driven by that desire to belong. Then you have this top-down pressure from a huge organization that's creating massive demand for things like housing and services. And it's that unique mix that is just fueling a real, tangible economic boom.
And you can already see the results on the ground. Demand for housing, for office space, especially in those diplomatic neighborhoods like Gigiri, it's just skyrocketing. So what does the Kenyan government do? They jump on it, actively trying to attract even more global talent with new policies. And all that new money flowing in, it's kicking off this really vibrant startup and co-working scene.
This Digital Nomad Visa is a perfect example of how Kenya is leaning into this whole thing. The deal is pretty simple. If you can show you have a remote job and make at least $55,000 US a year, you can set up shop in Kenya. And honestly, with great fiber-optic internet in the big cities, it's a super practical choice for a whole new generation of professionals.
But, okay, to get the full story here, we have to be real. This kind of fast growth, it doesn't just happen in a bubble. It comes with incredible promise, for sure, but it also creates some very real pressures and highlights some tricky challenges.
So it's really important to put this all in context. Yes, this wave of Western migrants is a big deal, but look at the whole picture.
Nearly half of all international migrants in Kenya are actually refugees, people fleeing from neighboring countries. It's a really crucial reminder of the bigger forces at play that are shaping the country.
And on top of that, sources point to some serious challenges. There are real questions about government stability and policies. And there are cited concerns about human rights, particularly for the LGBTQ+ community. Now, for an organization like the UN, which does a lot of very sensitive work, these aren't small issues. They raise some serious operational questions that they absolutely have to figure out.
So, where does all this leave Nairobi? What actually happens when you mix personal dreams, global money, and massive institutional strategy all together in one of Africa's most dynamic cities? What's the end result? Well, what you get is a city that's basically become a living experiment. It's being shaped at the exact same time by two completely different things. This really personal search for a better life, and this huge, almost tectonic shift in how our global institutions are set up. And these two forces, they're feeding off each other, just speeding up the change and the growth.
This collision of human-scale dreams and massive-scale planning, it's creating something entirely new. Is it a hub for diplomacy?
Yeah.
A hub for entrepreneurs? For sure. But what's happening in Nairobi might be more than that. It could be a kind of blueprint for other cities across the global south. Which leaves us with this really big question. As these personal dreams and global strategies keep smashing into each other, what kind of global city is actually going to emerge from it all?